Hi everyone. Thanks for having me today. My name is Moataz Nabil. I'm working as a developer advocate at Bitrise, and today I will be talking about how we can injecting security into Android CI/CD pipelines, which is called DevSecOps. How we can applying security into our DevOps lifecycle to be able to always testing our applications from the security perspective early and often. So a little bit information about me. So I started my career as a .NET developer, and then after that I switched it to be a QA engineer and test engineer, working with different business domains in like agriculture, telecom, healthcare, fashion, and the food delivery. I participated and designed different test automation frameworks for web, mobile, and API as well, with different set of languages and technologies. And currently, I'm focusing with Bitrise for on CI/CD and helping mobile developers to accelerate their builds, like by finding best practices, tips, and tricks for how we can reducing the build time, how we can accelerate the build times to be able to complete the life cycle for app releases and to able to frequently release our apps to the App Store. So let's talking briefly about the history. So why we are talking today about the DevSecOps. So as we know, like mobile apps now is not only like one screen or like two screens. It's not UI. It's like behind all of these apps, like enterprise businesses and mobile apps developmental life cycle in itself like has changed a lot in the few years. So now there is a concept for shifting left in testing. So what the meaning of shifting left? This is what we will know in the next slide. But shifting left in briefly now, it's something like we need to always to test our applications early and often. So we need always to test in the early stages. So because sometimes most of the development team previously they were testing only once when they finish the development and the deploying and everything and finishing all the development life cycle, and then the testing become at the end of this one. Maybe it's on the production, maybe it's before the production or pre-production environment, something like this. So because that shifting left now in the testing is a concept that most of the companies trying to implement in their businesses. So which is meaning that the test need to be conducting often and early to minimize the cost of bugs. As we know, if you find a bug in the development, for example, in the pull request or in anything you change it in the code base, this will not be the same if you found it in the production. And even also the root cause. So for example, if you make like made a one change in one BR and this break all the code, you will find the bug easily if you have already a test automation test cases, or if you have automated test cases implemented well. This will also find or will help you to find the root cause for this bug. But if it's in production, you will spend a lot of time to like start debugging and to know where is the bug and what is the root cause of this bug, because this is behind what or this the challenge that trying we are trying to tackle nowadays. As the speed and the frequency of release increases, most of the companies now, you can hear, or most of us now hearing that most of the companies trying to release weekly release cadence, or even 2 weeks, or at least 1 month between releases. So speed and the frequency is now is mandatory for releases. As we know, all the businesses has like competitors. If you, for example, if you have a grocery application or online payment or e-banking, something like this, so you have a lot of competitors, and you should always like deliver your app speed with the speed and the frequency as well. So traditional application security team, with this process, with this releases, with this speed, so the traditional application security teams, they can't keep up with the pace of release to ensure each release is secure. As we know, if you are releasing every 1 week, so the security team can't check all the security checks to be able or to make sure that there is no any problem or any vulnerabilities in the application. So because that, release mobile apps required from us nowadays speed, frequency, and security. So these are the major factors for releasing a mobile apps. So based on a book, Accelerate the Science Behind DevOps, there is an online book. It's based on a survey from different teams, from different companies during different years. They found they have a 6 key processes for accelerating software development. This is in general, not related to mobile, but because we are talking today about mobile apps, so we are focusing on mobile today. So the 6 key processes for accelerating software development and delivery and the company, they mainly about use trunk-based development process, which is we are mainly using with a code base like branches, small batches, feature branches, and releases, and so on. Implement test automation. As I mentioned, test automation is a vital part from in the DevOps lifecycle in general, because without it, you can stuck, or you can imagine if you don't have test automation, you release your app and you are waiting, or you're stuck at the development team until the QA engineers or test engineers to finish the manual life cycle and testing the application, all the test cases or the critical test cases on different devices as well, which is will take time. So implement test automation to accelerate or to speed up this process. This is something now a vital part in the DevOps. And the third point is shift left on security. So it's the second time we're hearing that shift left. So we need to know what about shift left. And they mentioning that it should be on security, especially it's not related to testing in general, but also they recommend shift left on security. Then automate the deployment process, which is continuously will be in the continuous integration and the continuous delivery, the last point, and supporting test data management. So also you need to think about different test data, how you can test your application with different data, how you can implement the test data in your application in general. Because that, I'd like to talk about briefly about shift left testing. What is shift left testing? So shift left testing is approach of taking the action of testing in the software and moving in the left. So as described here in this image, as I described early in the previous slide, so once we, for example, we have a new code, we already like create a build or a release cadence, for example, release candidate, for example, and everything is deployed. So we will start now testing in production, which is called shift right. So shift right, we are waiting until all the process from the developmental life cycle to be finished, and then we will start the testing as a QA engineer or test engineer, which is will be time consuming and effort as well, and require the resources, and the development team will stuck or will wait the team or the QA team to finish the testing, and then they can report the bugs, and if there is any problem they need to fix it, and so on. So now we need to move to lift. We need to test early and often. We need to test early in the early stages, which is the development. So once we change something in the code, in the branch or any in the feature or anything, we will run the CI server. This CI server is containing unit test, UI test, security, maybe static analysis test, for example, or static analysis code tool, and maybe security, for example, to check if there is any something or anything is not meeting our standards, for example. So this is the main idea about shift left in testing, and especially shift left in security, because as they mentioned that security should be in the early stages as well, to be able to tackle or to find all the bugs or even all the violations that may be related to our standard security. And this will give us like a feedback about, okay, our app now is secure or not, which is in the early stages. But if we found this vulnerability or anything on the production, which is will be a big deal, or like it will be harder to maintain, or it will take time, and also we already released the application, maybe it will be harder to like revert or roll back again, but we need to deploy a new or another hotfix for this application. So the process will be like more complicated from this one. So because that, why security is important? As we know, we have, all of us have like sensitive data. We are using our email, passwords, bank accounts, tokens, a lot of things, and it's also related to automotive. So usually we are using it with maybe we can use it with like with the smart cars, or in the cars, the healthcare. So you are sharing or uploading any data related to your health with the healthcare applications, for example, financial, retail, e-commerce, embedded and IoT devices. All of these businesses are managing your data. So it's related to data and sensitive data as well, because that security is important. So our challenges that we need to reduce the lengthily the cycle time. We need to reduce the release cycle, but in the same time, while still meeting a software compliance standard. So we have a standard, especially if we are developing a healthcare application, for example, they have specific standards, and financial or online banking, something like this. And the other one is maintaining the privacy and security of sensitive data. This is for sure mandatory for us. This is the challenge as well. And to make sure everyone is on the same page about the necessity and the benefits of securing application early. So it's not only responsibility of the security engineer or the security team. Something like testing, it's the whole team approach or the whole team responsibility. Security as well is a whole team responsibility. So it's not only related to the security team and it's not the responsibility of security team, but it's a whole team approach. So to tackle these issues or these challenges, it's necessary to implement a set of security processes, because that we at the beginning the title was how to inject the security into the DevOps lifecycle from an early as planning phases even. So in the planning phases, you can set your standard, your code standard or your security standard with the team. And during the DevSecOps, which is the cycle with the injecting the security, you can start like applying or adding tooling for scanning the code from a static perspective or dynamic, or mixing or combination between static and dynamic as well. But first, because we mentioned that it's a DevSecOps, so let's briefly talk about what is the DevOps. Sorry. And then we will add a sec inside the DevSecOps. So DevSecOps is, you can say it's a mobile CI/CD or continuous integration and continuous delivery. It's a process for build and releases our mobile apps to achieve quick and frequent release schedule. So for example, we can start by measuring. So what we have, like what the features that we are planning to that they are planning to release, what we have in the backlog, what the critical bug that we have, what we need to fix in the next release, and so on. Then we start thinking about the CI/CD strategy, what the tool that we need to use, the environment, how we can run our test, how we can build our apps, how we can deploy our app with the automated deployment, releasing, testing, building, monitoring. So it's not only after we release the application, that's it. No, we need to monitor the releases as well. Like maybe we can find crashes, maybe we can find bugs, and maybe we can find any scenario we didn't cover in the testing. So monitoring also is a problem, and it's something continuously happen. So the key elements of mobile DevOps, we have continuous. So we have here 6 continuous or 6 C's. Continuous communication, continuous planning. This is between the team. This is about the processes, is the RFC, how we can doing the RFCs, how we can release the features. Shall we use a feature flags, for example? Shall we use a security as a like a definition of done from the feature? Should the feature will be should be tested, should be reviewed, should be tested from the security perspective, and so on. So continuous communication, continuous planning, continuous integration, and continuous delivery or continuous deployment, which is shall we automate all the process, or we can just like automate until the continuous delivery, and then with the manual effort with the release manager, for example, he can just click OK, he can review everything, and he can release the app manually with the last step. Continuous testing and continuous monitoring. So continuous testing, which is implementing tests in the early stages as well, can be including the UI test, the security test, performance, API testing, for example. Everything can be involved in this continuous testing process. And plus, with the mind of everyone is responsible for security, now we got the mobile SecOps, which is adding or injecting security into the DevSecOps or the lifecycle of developing or for developing mobile applications. So DevSecOps is injecting security into the mobile CI/CD pipelines at the early stages, as we mentioned, shift lifting and test early and often in the development process. The importance of DevSecOps, security is a shared responsibility, as I mentioned. So it's now in the development area. Now all the developers that should responsible for security, they should have a security mindset. It's not only about the implementation or the standard or anything. No, they should implement and start thinking about security with the mindset of, okay, security is important, is mandatory. So we should start thinking from this mindset. Maybe this can be like maybe this can like reduce the development cycle. Maybe this can affect the development itself, but at the end, this is something that we can handle with the inside the team together. So now security is a shared responsibility of everyone in the DevOps chain. Companies involved in development and distribution of application must consider security on an equal footing with development and operation. So now we are working as a one team, operation, development, security team, testing, all of us are, it's a shared responsibility between all of us, and all of the team are responsible for security. When you integrate DevSecOps and the DevOps, security is always a priority for every developer when developing and deploying applications. This is what I just mentioned in the previous point. So the more automation, the better. So the benefit of DevSecOps. Now, by embedding automated security, because as you mentioned, and in the next slide, we will see that there is different testing security type with the automation. There is a static, dynamic, and the combine between both. But in general, automation is better, or automated security test is better. Okay, by embedding automated security controls and test early in the development cycle, you can ensure that your application are deployed quickly. And DevSecOps is to increase efficiency. So this is what we need. So we need to make sure, as I mentioned, we need to make sure that, okay, we can release our apps because at least we know the security level, or we need, or we know already from the security report or from the security tests that we run, that our apps is secured and we can release our application. So this is increase the efficiency of the application, and also this can help the developers to start thinking about like implementing new features, working with different things, because security is now covered by automation and by implementing or injecting security automated tests inside our DevOps lifecycle. Always, its security gaps can be identified at the early stage, so it's test early and often, as I have mentioned before. Threat modeling can help you identify the weaknesses in your resources and address any gaps in the security control. So also this can help us in the planning phase and in the in the development as well, to know where the gap inside our application and how we can tackle this gap or fix this gap with the security testing. So what the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps? As we mentioned, DevOps is focused on speed of app delivery. So we are using the DevOps for accelerate the build release or release app frequently and with a speed as well. So this is related to the process itself, or related to how we can deliver the application. But the DevSecOps argument speed with security. So now it's a DevOps combined with security. So now we come with a DevSecOps. By delivering apps that are as secured as possible, as quickly as possible. So this is the main idea behind or the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps. The goal of a DevSecOps is to promote the fast development of a secure code base. So here, as I mentioned, we have a static security testing, which can be run against the code base without building the application. And we have a dynamic, so we will build the APK, and then we can start scanning the application against any other security checks. So it's about secure code base, and also we can securing the application with the functionality and other things. From DevOps to DevSecOps, what I need to do or what I need to implement, how can I inject security inside my application or my cycle, my development cycle? So building security and from the start, extending the culture, sharing understanding and responsibility, as we mentioned, with implementing the shift left for security. Choose the right security testing method, because you will find a lot of test tools in the market. Everyone has a pros and cons. maybe you need to buy a tool, maybe you can implement a solution in house. So it's always depends on the team decision, but you will find it's always you need to think about what is the right security testing method or tool for my team and for my business as well, and establish coding standard for your team, because coding standard will help us to like having like a checklist for checking all the coding implementation. Choose a security, the right security testing methods. So here we have, this is the different testing tools. So we have a static application security testing, which is SAST. Analyze source code or compile the version of the code to help find security flaws or security vulnerabilities. So this one is for static, for like analyze the code base or compile the version of the code. Dynamic application security testing, which is the runtime application analysis to look for the vulnerabilities as well. So it's scanning the APK and then give you the report. Okay, your application is missing this security check. This is a high risk security error in your application, and so on. And the interactive application security, which is a like combination between static and a dynamic tools. It combines both static and dynamic to use software instrumentation, active or passive, to monitor application performance. Here is a mobile app security checks. So there is OWASP. OWASP is a mobile security project. So this is like a standard, or they have a standard for mobile application and security verification. You can find it on GitHub, and you can find all the cases or all the requirements, for example, for architecture, for design, and the threat modeling requirements. So they have different test cases, and also you can find the test case here. This is an example. It will direct you to like GitHub repository with different test cases. You will find a lot of test cases and different like different points here or different requirement or checks here. So I just bring it up here to a Google Doc, one of my in my drive. But here, let's say, for example, here, data considered sensitive in the context of the mobile app is clearly identified, for example. So you will find different things related to the app. All app components are defined in terms of the business function and or security function by providing. So let's open this one. I already opened it here, but let's no problem. So let's open this one. So it's about the mobile application security verification, and here you can find a lot of test cases or a lot of checks, and also you can find the example for this one related to Android or iOS as well. So for example, the app is signed and provisioned with a valid certificate of which the private key, something like this. So let's a private key is, let me open. Sorry. Privacy is probably protected, for example. And if we just go to the test case, if we click on the test case for Android especially, so it will direct us or will take us to the making sure that the app is probably signed. This is the code. And this is the overview about what is this point related to, or this requirement, the final release. Here is the 3 APK signed schema, static analysis, and everything related to dynamic analysis as well, testing whether the app is debuggable or not, something like this, and so on. So here you can find, this is a OWASP and the GitHub, and there you can find the documents. You can find all the things related to security. For example, testing data storage, basic security testing, platform testing, code quality and build setting, testing platform interaction, the network communication, and everything related to our mobile application. So let's continue with this one. Sorry. So here you can find, so your code standards should meet the OWASP mobile security checklist. Just you will find a lot of things. So for sure, maybe you will not, you don't need to. It's based on the business and the level of the company as well. But it's always security is mandatory or required to be able to use it. So because that we need to talk about the automated security testing. So here is one sentence from Chief Security Officer at Unity Technologies. He said that automated security testing is a future of the mobile security. Automated security testing. So we should automate the security testing Integrating automated security testing into the build and deploy cycles allow developers to do security testing for mobile apps, resulting is more secure apps and allowing security teams to focus on complex penetration testing or pen testing as well. So there is different thing in security. There is pen testing and or penetration testing for security, but we are talking here about the normal security checks and security scan. Because that, we need to add automated security test in the pipeline. So test automation is more and more becoming in the norm in mobile development, and it's a vital part in the lifecycle of the DevOps. When writing automated unit integration and end-to-end, security feature should be considered. So once as a team, we already agreed about that we should have a unit integration end-to-end and so on. We also need to consider security as a step or a testing type inside our like a definition of done or a process or anything we are working with as any other functionality. So it's something like, okay, something like the integration or the functionality. So this function or this feature is working or not, the same. This feature is secured or not, something like this. If your team has been incorporating security requirements into user stories and discussing trait modeling as part of, maybe we can also mentioning it in the user story if you are working with Agile and Scrum. So when you are planning your backlog or when you are planning your feature or writing your tickets or user stories, you also need to mention the security functions inside and the natural extensions or in the normal work that we are doing. So we mentioned that we should choose the right security testing method because that here, as we mentioned, shift lifting. So with a DevOps lifecycle, we can have once before releasing, for example, we can run vulnerability scan, or maybe in testing, we can have a security acceptance test or dynamic application security testing. So in each level or in each stage, we can have a specific test, security test activity. In the building, for example, with the code base, we can have a static application security testing or dependency management, something for scanning dependencies as well. And for monitoring, we can have a live penetration or pen testing and continuous monitoring. This is something, as we mentioned, continuously in our app. In the measuring, we can have secure code standard. Measuring, this is something for planning, what we will do in the next release and so on. So we can discuss the secure coding standards and the peer review as well. And also in the strategy, we can talking about trait modeling. We can start thinking about how we can inject security into our user stories or in our task or tickets as well. So this is an example for Android CI/CD workflow. So this is a normal workflow, but we will inject security as one step or required step inside this workflow. So we started with a code checkout repository, build the app for test, run static analysis. This is also will help us to know more about our code base, run unit test, automated security test here, then signing the application. Maybe we can sign the application first and then we can run the automated security because maybe we need to run against sign application as well. It always depends on what we need. Or maybe here you can just run the security automated security test, and once if the security test failed, so we will not continue with the other process. So it always depends on the team setup or the plan or the workflow setup for the team. So for example, here, once the test automated fail, so I will not continue with signing the app, release to the beta testers, for example, with Firebase, or deploying to the beta testers in the Google Play Store, for example, or publish the test result and send a Slack notification. Or maybe we can just switch this step or replace step sign app and sign the app first and run the automated test, because we need to run the test automation or the security test against the sign application. So here, for example, also with Bitrise, for example, we can connect to your source code with Bitbucket, GitHub, and GitLab, and then you can have a workflow with different stages. For example, with build, you can start running Android build for UR testing, for example, Android sign the application, and you can also integrate something like SonarQube scanner for like a static analysis scan or static analysis test, code. Then with the test, you can have a unit test, run UI test, and here you will find different security tests. As I mentioned, there are different security tools or security test tools in the market. So for example, here we have different verified steps with Bitrise. We have a data theorem, we have oversecured, AppRay, Dex Protector, AppSweep, for example. So we have different third-party tool. You can integrate it inside your pipeline, and you can just build your application or your APK, and then you can send your APK to the oversecured or AppSweep to be able to scan your application against any security vulnerabilities, or even you can just know about what is the risk from inside your application. If everything is okay here in this process or in this stage, you can continue with a deploy. You can deploy to different store, for example, deploy to Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, Visual Studio App Center, and also send a Slack message or Microsoft team. And also you can send your application to your quality assurance for manual testing if you still have, or if you are doing a manual testing in your team, and then maybe we can deploy it to the App Store. So for example, here, this is a simple one. We just maybe we can pick up, for example, we can pick up one step or one tool. It's AppSweep for mobile security. This is a workflow in Bitrise. In the visual way, you can just implement everything. You have almost, you can implement any, you can add any step. We almost have more than 330 steps. This is, for example, for building Android application, as simple as, so just add SSH key to be able to clone the repository, caching if you wanted to cache a build to accelerate the build time for the next time, install missing Android SDK, Android build. This will give us the output will give us the APK or AAP. And then you can send this APK to AppSweep. AppSweep you just need to create an account on AppSweep, and you can use the API token and add it in the secrets into Bitrise, and just you can send the APK. AppSweep will take the APK, start scanning this APK against the vulnerability checks or anything related to security, and give you a report at the end. And just this is for caching the output and deploy to the Bitrise, just to have the artifacts at the end, including the maybe test result or the app build. So I think I have time for quick demo. I wanted to show you how we can use AppSweep. So this is a Bitrise. Here I have Bitrise AppSweep demo, and this is a workflow editor. And here this is the same workflow that we just found in the step. So here I have already account with AppSweep for testing, and here I added the APK in the secrets tab. So for example, here in the secrets, you can add AppSweep and add the APK in the secrets, which will not be displayed in the log process. And then here I am selecting the debug or release, which variant inside your application that you are using. And this is a project location, which will taking from the environment variable from my project. And this is, for example, using this. One more thing about AppSweep, that you should add this dependency in your build Gradle file, in the app build Gradle file, to be able to start scanning your application or the APK and give you the URL after that. So once it's finished, so for example, if I wanted to run this this workflow, I can just click and start this one. This is manually, and select the workflow and the master and start build the app until this one is finished. So let me just go to the succeeded one. So here, this is I have here the artifact. Here I have the APK already because I built the application, and here I have the log. And if I go down, and here I can find the scan with AppSweep is already passed in 5 seconds, because it's taking the APK and just sending it to the so I started building the application and then sending it to the AppSweep URL. So once here you will have a URL, I will click on this URL, and this will drive me, or will redirect me to the number of the build on the AppSweep, and this is the application ID, this is the date, this is the application size, and here you will find the issue that found inside your application. So here, for example, I have one high issue, one medium, two low, and I have already 48 dependencies inside my application. So for example, with one high, here you can find this related to application security and information leakage used for reverse engineering. So what is the problem here? So let's go down, and we will find that The Android manifest attribute, including or the debuggable, is true, set to true. And here you will find a description about is not correct or this is not recommended because this is against the security or the OWASP security standard, for example. So here you just, this is a fix or recommendation, ensure that the flag debuggable is set false and you can do it. So let's go to this one. So let me refresh the build maybe. Okay, so it's still running. So let me go back to this one. So this is with the integration here, you can find everything, and this is the previous build. And also you can compare between different builds, for example. So you can compare between build number 7 and build number 6, for example, and view dev, there is no any difference between them. So this will help us to, if, for example, we have something changed related to security, you can find it in between builds. So if, for example, one developer is changing something is not related to the standard or it's affecting our security standards, so it can display it in this release. So we will find it, we can find in the difference between the build and start fixing this one and build the application again. So let's go, for example, for the medium, and here you will find the medium one, the issue, and for example, elements of a log activity, login activity. I have already, it's a login application, simple login application. So it's already finished. So it doesn't take long time. And here I think I will find number 8. So let's me. Okay, so this one that's finished. So this is here you can find, for example, this is this is my activity because it's a login application, so I are not protected against, for example, tab jacking. So this is the recommendation for you. So this is a brief idea about how we can using security. So there are different testing tools in the market. There is a scanning for like dynamic and static as well. You can use a static analysis tool as well, like Sonar Cube or something else. So in general, this is the main idea about how we can implement security inside your CI/CD or inside your DevOps. One more thing about AppSuite, for example, because we mentioned the OWASP mobile app security verification standards, that they mentioned that in the next release, they will have like a feature or opportunity to find that these issues or security issues related to which, or this is a violations related to the OWASP mobile app security verification standards. So which is something will be good if we start to implement it already inside our team, the OWASP standards inside our team. So let's recap our talk today. So DevSecOps is a journey, not a destination. So it's not something we implemented, just we added security tools inside our CI/CD pipeline and just it. No, it's something you need always continuous improvement, continuous testing. So we need always to continuous monitoring what we have inside our application. DevSecOps is a mindset, culture, process, and tools. So it's not only about tooling. So tooling, we mentioned tooling at the end of the slide, but as I mentioned, it's a mindset. So the developers should know that security is mandatory. So we don't need to develop something insecure. And there's a culture between the team, process as well, how we can handle this in the measuring process, in the measuring stage, or even with the communication between the team, and the tools at the end to implement this in the like actionable things. Security is a whole team approach, shared responsibility, something like testing. Testing is a whole team approach as well. All the teams should, or all the team should like working together in this security things. CI/CD is a coordination process, which is will coordinate and help us to achieve our goals and release our apps frequent and with speed and frequent as well. Test automation is a vital part of DevSecOps, because without test automation, so you will waste a lot of time and resources as well. And as we know, test automation helps us to in two things: to find the fix as early as possible, because as we know in the production, it will be hard to maintain or it will cost more, and it's help us as well for like know more about the application, our code standard, for example, with security perspective, what's the status of the security inside the application, and so on. speeds the ability to quickly scan as a part of the CI/CD pipeline without it blocking the build is important, and actionable recommendation in the security analysis tool. This is also what you need to, or what you need always to make sure that this is inside the security tool that you will working with. Something give you like a checklist, something give you level of security problems inside your application. Anything but actionable recommendation is a important things in any security analysis tool. Thank you. And the resources I can edit it in the chat. This is what I open. This is the mobile app security, which is here. You can open this one. This is mobile app security. It's a guide for testing security. You will find all the information that related to principle of testing security, gray box testing, black box vulnerability analysis, static versus dynamic tools, and avoiding false positive, everything related to mobile app authentication architecture as well. We have a top OWASP top 10 security checks and general guideline on testing authentication, for example. Here you can find different things. And this one is what we have, or what we discussed, a WASP mobile security testing guide. Here you can find all also in different languages as well. And here what we mentioned during our talk, the mobile app security verified steps or verification standard. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed your talk, my talk. And if you have any questions, so I'm very happy to answer it. Thank you.
Awesome. Audible clapping because the rest of it's all just emojis. Oh geez, yeah. So I don't know what happens with your camera, Moataz, but it doesn't matter because we hear your elegant voice, and that's most important.
Okay, no. Okay.
Ah, there we are. There
From
we
long
are.
time or just now?
It's been for a little bit, but it doesn't matter because I feel like it was intentional because you wanted the focus to be on the content. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
you're comfortable being an anonymous educator.
Okay, no worries.
Alrighty, folks. If you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A section. We have one at the start where somebody was saying hello to you, Moataz. Yeah. How do you respond to that question? Exactly.
Hello.
Yeah. All right. We'll give everybody a couple minutes. What time is it for you right now?
It's 10 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like, I feel like I should be able to respond with something better than wow, but like, you know, my brain's pretty much shot, which is all the more reason I can't wait for Madonna and Ryan to take over hosting because I am done, man. I can't handle a second more now. Yeah, but that was wonderful. If there are no Q&A, like I have conversation I'd like to have about Bitrise with Moataz, but like I don't have any specific question I'm going to write in here. So I'd be up for going to a table and just chatting. And whoever wants to join over there, come hang out. Alrighty, cool. Let's check out of this Q&A, and we'll go hang out at the tables. Moataz, thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a nice day. Thank you.